I made my first million in my 20s, and not because I'm smarter than anyone else, just because I spent time figuring it out early, because most people don't figure it out until they're 50, right? Now, I've jotted down a few things today that I want to run you through. Whether you're making 2,000 a month, whether you're making 10,000 a month, these are things that you can learn, little lifelong lessons that are going to propel you a little bit quicker, a little bit closer to where you want to be. So, number one is all around delegation, right? And if you don't already know who I am, then I'm Oliver. I mentor people who are freelancing right now, who basically want to get to that sweet spot of earning more money, but also having more time to spend it, okay? So delegation is a huge part of that. So most people think delegation is about hiring someone cheaper to do the work, which is wrong, right? Because real delegation isn't what clients pay for, right? They pay for results. So I know a lot of you come to me and say, Oliver, my name's above the door. I'm really scared about them coming to me and then me saying someone else is doing it. And what you need to understand is that these clients come to you, they're looking for an outcome. They are not bothered about who's tapping the keyboard, right? They want someone who can take control, someone who has the strategic thinking like you, someone who can plan the direction, someone who can control the quality. Because what a lot of people appreciate is the process and not just an individual effort from a single freelancer, okay? Now, to get into this, I want you to make a bit of a list right now of essential stuff that you need to do for the business and non-essential stuff, right? Because what you'll find is most of the things that you're doing right now is the non-essential stuff. And so we can slowly drop that and put you to where you need to be instead. Now, number two is to stop selling time and start selling outcomes, because hourly pricing is a trap. You might have heard this a handful of times, but you're only being penalized for doing things quicker, for using AI, for being more effective, right? And then people will come to you and say, oh, well, why have you done this? Why is it taking so long? Or I could have done this. Or, you basically remove all the headache, and just making this little switch can double your income overnight. Do it now if you haven't already, okay? Now, number three, really important one, is either focus or fail, right? Because I used to say yes to everything. I wrote it down here, right? I was your classic graphic designer, right? No matter what, you came to me, I would do it. I was an order taker, right? I would do websites, logos, branding, email designs. But what you need to understand is that clients aren't actively searching for a graphic designer, right? They've got one specific problem that they need solving, which is either a website design or a logo design, or even if you're in the copywriting space or development space or social media, whatever it is, people come to you with one problem that they want solving. So what I'd recommend doing is focusing in and being the provider for that one problem. But yes, you might be able to do all these things, but at the initial point of pitch, the initial page, the initial portfolio, that is not where you want to show it. You want to first get that client on board, because they then see you as an expert, build up that trust, build up that connection, build up that credibility, and then you can upsell them down the line, right? So you can bring them in to do website design. You can then upsell them on development, upsell them on copywriting, upsell them on SEO, right? That is how you go from a $5,000 project to a $50,000 project, okay? So a little bit of a switch there that you need to make if you're not already making. And number four is to learn to talk about money. Now, hard conversation to have, because a lot of us live in this whole scarcity mindset of talking about money. They're worried they're going to send the client the opposite direction, but actually it's much more healthy to bring it up early. So what I've wrote down is, when you delay talking about the budget, both you and the client are anxious. They're wondering if they can afford you. You're wondering if they're just going to be a time waster. All right. Smart money, right, needs to be early doors, right? But talk about it in terms of ranges. So, instead of saying, oh, this will be 3,000, right? You want to give a range. So typically for this kind of thing, this could be between $10,000 and $20,000, right? Now, immediately, you're going to know if you're aligned. Instead of spending ages putting together a proposal, hopping on a call, it's going to make your life a hell of a lot easier, right? Or it could be, right, for bigger, undefined projects, use orders of magnitude. So it could be, are you closer to 10K or 100K, right? Keep probing until you really find out their budget range. But yes, you're going to get people that will come to you, not going to want to answer any of your questions until you've told them the price. Now, you need to help them visualize what this looks like and why you're asking this. So fire it back at them. Say to them, okay, if you turned up at a real estate agent and you ask them the price of a house, what do you think they're going to say? Right? Because there's all these different options and all these different ranges depending on what you need. So that's going to get them in the right frame of mind for them to answer your questions first, to then understand how long things are going to take. Okay. Number five is to invest in yourself above all else, right? So after you've covered your basic expenses, right, you want to be developing your skills as much as possible because that's going to raise your baseline in the market, right? So sales, marketing, funnels, find yourself a mentor. It doesn't have to be me, it can be anyone, just someone to speed up that path, right? Because money is a funny thing, but at the end of the day, it's basic maths, right? People will spend years hoarding money, trying to add it up here and there, scared to spend it. But the reality is, what people don't do is multiply it. Now, you can add 10 to 10 to make 20, or you can multiply 10 by 10 to make 100, right? That's the frame that you need to put yourself into. So when you start investing in yourself, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a program, whether it's books, learning more things is going to help you, one, expand your ceiling, but two, bring up your floor. So your fallback position is always going to be higher. So it might start off by saying, I could always fall back to a 50K job. Or it could be after that, I could always fall back to being a 100K freelancer. And then after that, it can be, I could always fall back to having a team that's going to help me earn, 500,000, right? Each time you progress because you learn more. That's the whole fundamentals. So invest in people, yes. Invest in equipment, absolutely. But invest in yourself because those are the lifelong lessons that are going to improve your baseline, right? And then finally, the compound effect, right? Listen to this. All these lessons compound. Delegation gives you leverage. Project pricing increases your margins. Focus creates expertise. Money conversations eliminate time wasters. Self-investment raises your floor. Now, this sounded like a bit of a poem when I wrote it down, but actually it's kind of hard to say. But there's fundamental lessons within there because most freelancers, they're going to learn one or two. But the ones who build real wealth, they're going to master all five, okay? If you want to work with me a little bit more, you can find me online. Give me a bit of a search. I'll see you on the next one.